It's Jefferson Graham. This is the audio companion to the latest Photo-Walks TV episode, all about New Orleans, Louisiana, one of the most unique cities in the world. Where else can you walk down the street and hear music playing on seemingly every block, get incredible local food, and meet some really great people? So in the audio companion podcast, I like to run the extended interviews with some of the people that we met and tell you more about the city. So stay tuned. Here we go. What was my highlight? The best part about going to New Orleans, beyond hearing the great music, I'm a jazz fan, so it just means a lot to me, is taking the cab rides, Ubers, Lyft, and meeting the drivers. I had so many great conversations with them. It was a really great way to learn about the area from the local point of view. And I'm going to start off by playing you one of them with our friend Sean.
We talking to Sean Smith from New Orleans.
Spell your name?
S-E-A-N.
Sean Smith.
Sean Smith, yeah, from New Orleans.
Okay, the top Uber driver in town.
Well, he's definitely one of the top drivers.
One of the top drivers.
Diamond tier. Yeah, and I done completed over 16,000 trips.
Tell the tourists what they need to do when they come to New Orleans. Is it go to Bourbon Street or not go to Bourbon Street?
You have to go to Bourbon Street because Bourbon Street is the most famous street. But outside of Bourbon Street, New Orleans is mixed with different blends. So, you could go uptown, you could go to Mid-City, the City Park, you know what I'm saying? You could come to my neighborhood. It just filled out with all loving and hospitality.
Well, give them a few ideas on other places they could go to. What are they called?
When you come to New Orleans, you should go to Copper Vine for sure, a top recommendation. You should try Drago's. They chalk grilled oysters. Yeah, for sure, they chalk grilled oysters. And it's so much to do out here, so try to make an agenda when you come down here.
Garden
because
District. We like the Garden District.
Garden District, yeah, I like the Garden District. The Garden District is excellent.
Tell us about taking the streetcar out and seeing those beautiful homes.
Now, when you go down to Uptown on a streetcar, you got to pay attention to either the green ones or the red ones. Now, the green one, we're going to take you uptown. The red ones take you down to Canal Street. But if you take the green one and go uptown, you're going to see houses back from the 1800s that are going to blow your mind. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, tell me about living through Katrina and what it's like now.
Living through Katrina, I'm going to say the prices didn't change. A lot of places that you used to go to, it used to be cheap as a po' bar that most people talk about, and now it just, the economy is just outrageous and inflation and stuff like that.
New Orleans has come back from Katrina?
New Orleans, I must say, we always gonna come back from Katrina or whatever disaster because we're resilient people. Yes, we're some resilient people, and we just trying to have a good time. Let the good times roll.
Right, it's a special place.
Yes, yes.
Why do you like New Orleans?
I like New Orleans because my family live here, and I have a real big family, and most of my life, I'm saying, I didn't travel, but ain't nothing like New Orleans.
Now, everybody who goes to New Orleans usually starts by going to the French Quarter and bawdy, rowdy Bourbon Street, which is this not the greatest street. It's all about drinking. You have a whole lot of drunk people there, and it's just bar after bar after bar after bar. It's a little seedy. There was a big accident at the beginning of the year when a deranged driver drove into a whole bunch of people and killed them, and now there's a barricade there so the cars can't go through. Thank you very much. But all you have to do is walk over one block to Royal Street, which is a much nicer street. This is all part of the French Quarter, the old area that was developed by the French and the Spanish, and looks unlike anything else that you're going to see anywhere in the world, with beautiful wrought iron and just old buildings that are just wonderful to look at. I loved walking up and down Royal Street, the galleries, the shops, the restaurants leading to Jackson Square. It's sort of the heart of New Orleans, as Grant, the artist who we met there, can tell you all about. All right, so Grant is the first name?
Yeah, Grant Nelson. artist out here at Jackson Square. Been here since 2008.
Talk to me about Jackson Square because I know there's galleries all over town. So the what they tell you is that you can get better, more affordable art right here on the square.
Well, you can, and that's kind of one of the good things about Jackson Square is what they do is they've actually had artists out here since the 1850s out here selling artwork. And to get a license, they only cap it at 200 licenses for the whole year. So what they do is, they allow the artists to come out, but for us to have our license, we have to sell our own artwork. And they really make it really reasonable for kind of artists that just that don't want to show in the galleries or anything like that. And the licenses are $175 for the whole year. Like I said, they're really tough to get, but once you get one, you're grandfathered in. And we have to sell our own artwork, so we can price it whatever we want to, and that's why it's a little bit more reasonable. And I also think, too, it makes it a little bit more of a personal connection, too, because the artist can actually, talk to the people as opposed to going, I think this is what the artist did. The artist can actually explain a little bit about why they did it, who they came from, where they came from, and stuff like that. So it makes it a lot more personal. And actually, I just enjoy it a lot more. I used to own a gallery back in Savannah. And like I said, it's nice nice having the idea of like having a gallery, but for me personally, I just absolutely love Jackson Square and meeting people from all over the world. I'm probably, even on a slower day, on a Thursday like today, you meet, 500, you'd see 500 to 1,000 people walking around, and it's like you talk to everybody, meet people from all over the world. Sold some artwork today from a couple from Liverpool, talked to another couple from Italy. So it's and then obviously, people from Louisiana, New York, California as yourself. And now
Look at where you are. You got Cafe Du Monde right over there.
Cafe Du Monde over here. We got Jack's Brewery right here. And the thing about Jackson Square, it's like the heart of New Orleans. So if you see any of the, kind of the first couple pictures that you'll see of New Orleans, you'll see pictures of Jackson Square and the artists. And just a great experience. I'm literally living a dream that I never had.
On our second day in New Orleans, we took a food tour in the Garden District, which is a really wonderful place that most tourists don't go to. It's home to great old historic mansions from the 1800s, one after the next, and a lot of unique thrift stores, restaurants, cafes, very unlike what you're going to see on Bourbon Street, as Michelle Michon, who was the tour operator, our tour guide, I should say, can tell you all about.
What's about Magazine Street?
So Magazine Street is almost sort of like a main street. It's where all the businesses, before there were Walmarts and shopping malls, you could conveniently go to one street usually and go to the seamstress, go to the hardware store, go to the locksmith, get your groceries, whatever you need to do. And so that's how Magazine Street was developed. It's actually named after Artillery magazine, not periodical magazines. But it's a sort of small main street that runs all the way. It changes names at Canal Street, but it runs all the way through the business district, all the way parallel to the river Bend. It goes through Audubon Park. It bisects Audubon Park. The zoo is in Audubon Park. Loyola and Tulane are near the park. So it goes a long distance, and it's basically shops and houses the whole way. So there's sort of sections that happen, like we're in the thrift store kind of section now, but there's sections down there that a lot of interior designers. There's basically all small businesses, and if you have a hobby or a passion, there's probably a store on Magazine Street for it. But yeah, it's that.
But
that's
this
magazine.
is sort of the anti-Bourbon Street, right?
I mean, yeah, it's I wouldn't even compare it to Bourbon Street because it's not.
No, it's just that the tourists go to Bourbon Street.
No, yeah, well, tourists go to Bourbon Street to get drunk and go to bars and listen to bad music because it's a lot of top 40 hits and nightclub type bars. But if I was to say the anti-Bourbon Street, if anywhere, is going to be Frenchman Street, which is also full of bars with live music. That is good, and isn't full of like spring breakers. But yeah, Magazine Street is a different vibe because it's a small business street, a shopping street that a lot of people that live in the city and live in the community use. But it's also got really great bars and cafes and coffee shops and stuff like that, like where we just went. That gets a lot of students. It gets a lot of people who want to get out of the French Quarter and have a nice day doing some shopping. But it's also freelancers that come here to work at the coffee shop, or you'll go to the bar and catch up with your neighbors. So it's more of a neighborhood. I mean, I don't live in the Quarter, so I don't hang out on Bourbon Street, and I don't know that there's a lot of people who live in the Quarter that treat Bourbon Street like it's part of their community. Bourbon Street is just Bourbon Street, and Magazine Street is certainly part of our community as the neighborhood.
Right. We live in LA and we don't go to Hollywood Boulevard.
Yeah.
We would never dream of going to Hollywood Boulevard, but that's where everybody goes
Right,
when
right.
they come.
Yeah.
You had said before that Frenchman is the new Bourbon Street.
Yeah.
You talk about that?
Yeah, so Frenchman's always Frenchman Street is, once you leave the Quarter and you head into the neighborhood called the Marigny, that's that edge of the French Quarter. The first 3 blocks as you leave the French Quarter and head into the Marigny. Frenchman Street is it's not what Decatur becomes, but it kind of merges into it turns with the river, so it's a little confusing, but there's 3 blocks that are all music bars. And they've been bars for musicians since at least the 70s. I'm sure some of those places are even older. And they never charge a cover. They had affordable drinks, and it's kind of where the locals went to see bands. And the word has gotten out, especially post-COVID when they were afraid they weren't going to survive. So they really did a big push to make sure tourists left Bourbon Street and came to Frenchman Street. And so Frenchman Street is kind of right around like 10 o'clock on a Friday or Saturday becomes Bourbon Street.
As I said, there's nothing like music in New Orleans. It's the birthplace of jazz. Back to the 1800s, people like Buddy Bolden, Jelly Roll Morton, Louis Armstrong, and of course goes on with Wynton Marsalis and John Baptiste. And we got to meet Ronell Johnson, who is a trombone player with the Preservation Hall Jazz Band. And it was a great interview, and I'd love for you to take a listen.
Okay, so Ronell, Ronnell?
1 N, 2 L's.
2 L's, Johnson, right?
Johnson, yes.
Okay, and you're the trombone player. You've been playing in New Orleans since you were 6 years old, I read.
Yes. Professionally at 12, but I started learning the trumpet and piano at 6.
Wow, and how many years have you been here?
I've been playing here at Preservation Hall since 2003, and I started going out with the Preservation Hall Traveling Band in 2011. Yes.
Great. Okay.
Yeah.
So why do you do it?
Oh, the love of it. I mean, for one, it's part of New Orleans culture. Most of us come from musical families, and I have a band with my 3 older brothers, but our grandmother's older brother was in one of the original Preservation Hall bands. So he played at Joseph Butler. He was a bass player and vocalist here. And, so many musicians in the family. My mother is the second oldest of 12. My dad the second oldest of 10. And most of them are musicians, either, some professional, some amateur, but they're all around. And our grandparents, both my grandfathers were musicians. And it's in the blood, it's in the culture. It's what you do, you play music, in New Orleans. Yeah, a lot of places around, they're called band nerds, the kids in the band geeks. We didn't know what that was in New Orleans. All the cool kids played in the band in New Orleans.
Why is New Orleans and music, why do they go hand in hand? What is it about the area that makes it such a hot spot for music?
Well, it being, like they say, it's a gumbo pot with a whole lot of different cultures being let in, and then this being the birthplace of jazz with the Congo Square and the drummers and the African drums and percussionists and musicians. It was the perfect collaboration for everything to come together. All the marches, the European operas, the Negro spirituals from the church, and like I said, the marches from the military bands, it all came together here with those African rhythms. And it had to happen, and also ragtime. Right. Ragtime predates jazz by about 10 years. And with all of that going on, music had to be the thing here. Music and food, Exhibit A. Doesn't it?
But even all these years later, people still love listening to traditional music here.
Yes, they really do. It's something kind of spiritual about the traditional music here. For one, number one is dance music. You know, it is dance music, the blues, all of that. Is the gospel of it is dance music. And you know, jazz has moved on in other areas and other places, and it's very kind of cerebral. Oh, there's nice changes. Oh, that progression. But here in New Orleans, that's cool, but it's all about the dance. The dance. If we could get them to get up and move, that's the important thing. We want to reach your soul. And by that being still prevalent in most of, just about all of the music here in New Orleans, that's why people still come to the city, you know.
And why do you think New Orleans is such a special place?
Oh man, it's so special for us being able to keep that culture and pass it on, but to the family members and to the younger musicians and all of that. And it's still growing. You know, some musics, you know, they'll try to, well, that was great, and a certain person played that, and we're gonna learn that music and keep it exactly like that. But music grows, it breeds, you know. So the older guys, they play the music their way, due to their experiences and their culture and their experiences. We learned it from them, but we have different experiences as well. So we have to add our music and our experiences to what was already there. And so we continue the tradition, but it also perpetuates it to where it keeps growing. And when you do it, and that's pretty much the formula.
What would the city be without music?
Oh, I can't even imagine New Orleans without music. Oh, I think there was a quote somebody said, it might have been Mark Twain or somebody, that there are three real cities in America: New Orleans, New York, and San Francisco. Everywhere else is Cleveland. You know what I'm saying? And without music, I mean, Cincinnati, Cleveland, I don't know, you know what I'm saying? But New Orleans is one of the biggest parts of what makes New Orleans, New Orleans.
Music.
Yeah, music is definitely.
Yeah, why don't you say it one more time? Music is what makes.
Music is one of the biggest parts of what makes New Orleans, New Orleans. I mean, you can't beat it. It reaches in your soul and it grabs you. That's why when people come for a visit, the music gets in their blood. Also, the food gets in their blood, and they can't get New Orleans out of their mind. So they're always coming back, and a lot of people come and move here.
Did I hear that you were on the Super Bowl?
Oh yeah, well we played the Preservation Hall. We played the Fox pregame show for the Super Bowl. So yeah, we were out on Bourbon Street on top of a balcony. We were playing the whole time, and that was a lot of fun.
Could you do When the Saints, just a few notes of it?
Oh, absolutely. Try and stop me.
Okay, go for it. That was incredible.
Well, thank you so much.
Let's see, what else I want to ask you about? Oh, Katrina.
Yes.
Post-Katrina, how's New Orleans doing? It's been 20 years.
It's been 20 years, definitely. And, you know, New Orleans has changed, definitely, since Katrina. Some things might have been, you know, some things for the worse, but some things a whole lot better. New Orleans, we're doing great in a whole lot of ways. For one, Katrina brought international attention to New Orleans and what was happening. So in some areas, like some of the culture, like some of the younger musicians at the time before Katrina, it was hard to get them interested in learning some of the traditional music. But when Katrina happened and the whole world was like, oh man, there's something really special about New Orleans. We can't let that die. That helped to encourage the younger musicians oh man, they saw some value in what our traditional music is. So a whole lot of them started learning it, and we got a whole lot more brass bands around than ever in New Orleans history because of what happened in Katrina.
And
so
it's as strong as ever?
It's strong. Oh yeah, the city is definitely strong. I mean, you can see we went through Taylor Swift coming here into the holiday season, right into the Super Bowl, right into Mardi Gras without a hitch. And now we're right into festival season with French Quarter Fest and Jazz Fest right on our heels, you know. And it's better than ever. We're very resilient, and we're moving forward really strong.
Let's talk food. Let's talk beignets. Let's talk red beans and rice. Let's talk gumbo. Let's talk jambalaya. New Orleans is famous for their food. We stopped into a great old historic restaurant called Ptg&x, which is Southern Creole food. And I had fried chicken. It has a great place in history. A lot of civil rights leaders would meet there and strategize. It's been a stopping place for presidential candidates, George W. Bush, Barack Obama. I went to lunch there with my wife, Ruth, and we talked about it at Ptg&x.
Well, first of all, it's a really wonderful setting. Just art everywhere, African-American art of all varieties, from abstract to not. And a mixed crowd of everybody, and the most wonderful food you can imagine. Southern food, New Orleans style, Creole, Cajun soul food, real Southern cooking with fried chicken that Jeff had. It was succulent and delicious, moist as it ought to be. And I had fried shrimp, so a lot of delicious shrimp in a batter, and dipping sauce, and also jambalaya, and also I had tried their terrific gumbo, which was different than other gumbos I've tried. It had shrimp and sausage and crab and chicken in a broth that they make with a roux that sometimes is thick, but in this case wasn't so thick, but quite spicy and totally delicious. So I would recommend you come here.
Back to music. Frenchman Street is the new Bourbon Street, the place where you go to hear live music on the streets. We listened to a band called the One Way Brass Band, and they're playing in front of Willie's Chicken Shack, great old traditional jazz, and got to talk to two of the musicians, Chris and Tyrone.
How you doing? Mic check.
Okay,
Mic
so
check.
who do we have here? Your name is?
My name is Chris.
With a C?
Yes, sir.
And what's your last name?
Henry.
Henry, Chris Henry.
Yes, sir.
I'm Tyrone Johnson.
Alrighty, and the name of the group is?
The One Way Brass Band.
Alrighty, you guys been playing here for how long?
Well, on this spot right here, I've been playing here for probably about 12 years now. What about you?
Less than that. I've been watching them play. Like, they older, like, you know, him, Sam, all them, the older folk, they older. I've been looking up to them. So I watched them play probably like 12 years, but I probably only been playing here for about 5 or 6, maybe if that.
Tell us about the popularity of street music here on Frenchman Street. This is known for great music, right?
Yes, sir. So the popularity with the street music, it's kind of like having that joy, because you don't have to, for one, you don't have to pay to get in the club. For 2, you don't have to buy a drink. And for 3, you get to hear free music. Like, who don't love free music? And then live music at that. Like, you can't get that nowhere else. Like, man, you talked about, you can get that some places, but just getting that New Orleans traditional style music is like no place that you can get that style and get that feeling. Like, once that music start playing and you hear them drums start beating, you hear that big old tuba start whomping, it's just like nothing else comes. Like, all your problems go away.
And it's a very New Orleans sort of thing, isn't it?
Yes,
Right.
sir, most definitely.
You don't hear it in other cities.
I mean, some cities like, I went to school in Houston. They have some people that try to do it, but you just don't get that soul and that flavor. It's like making a gumbo. It's like you have the roux, then you have the bay leaf, you have the flour, you have the You have the rice to go on top of it. Like you add some shrimps in it, and it's just like some people can't do that. But in New Orleans, it's like we could just do it.
How do you describe New Orleans music?
It's one of a kind. It's very different, unique. Like it takes a lot for a lot of people to understand it, but once you hear it, you just know it. Like, oh, that's it. That's what I've been looking for. That's that New Orleans jazz I want here. That old school jazz, you know, Louis Armstrong type of music. But yeah, that's.
Who are some of your influences?
I'm actually influenced by my cousins. I'm actually in the family, the Andrews family. You have Trombone Shorty, Glenn David, James Andrews, Trumpet Black. Them actually my first cousins, so I'm actually influenced by them. Like I've been watching them do it. They actually started the process that I love to do, second line brand. Like, so they all got together and made it's come from the All Stars, then you know Such On, and now to the One Way Brass Band.
How many generations is that? Can I ask?
You got James, you got Trombone Shorty,
James,
you got Black.
Then you got T-Bell.
You got Eldridge.
Eldridge and them. Then you got
Lil Eldridge.
No, Cornell and them.
Cornell and them, yeah.
Buddha. Then Eldridge. Then it's us. That's about 10.
Yeah. So 9 generations,
but we
then
still,
it'll be him.
Yeah, but I have little cousins that's just starting to do it. I play trumpet. Tori Andrews, he marched for Roots Music. Nice trumpet player. Nice. Young. He only like about 11 or 12. Nice.
And who are your influences?
And so for me, it's kind of different because nobody in my family played music before. Nobody played music. So like for me, doing marching band, growing up, a couple of my friends, they was in a brass band world, and they used to always be like, man, you can play trumpet, come out here and like, come listen to the band, and you might want to do it. So one day, I was just like, man, I'm going out here and see what they talking about. And I just seen how everybody was smiling and just so happy that watching some young kids just come together and play some horns and not doing no crazy stuff, not going to rob nobody, none of that. And it was all positive. So I'm like, man, I could be making some good money just doing what I love to do. Like, why not do it? And then seeing some of his family members like come to my school, like Trombone Shorty. He used to come to our school and give us tutorials on how to play the trumpet. He also gave us horns to practice and play on because like for me, I wasn't able to buy my first horn. But him come and give me a horn, like they got people that care about us. So of course I'm about to keep this horn in my head. I'm about to do what I gotta do.
Right.
So for me, it was just like a lot of friends that I was around. I was around the right group of people at the right time. I wasn't on the wrong crowd, and I didn't let nobody stray me to the wrong way.
Right.
So for me, I say it's just the people that I hung around.
Let me ask you about New Orleans. It's been 20 years since Katrina. Has the city come back?
I say today where we at right now, I feel like the city is almost there. We probably at 75%. And why I say that is just because things that some people don't see, we see. And like, not to get all the way into it, but I'll just say like, I'm a teacher. And so from the inside looking out, when I was in high school and I was in middle school and stuff like that, the school system used to be different. But now that we have these different school systems, it's starting to, the culture's starting to change, but it's still starting to be New Orleans. But the biggest thing that I say is the culture.
The culture
so
is
once
changing.
the culture come back together instead of going a different route, New Orleans will be back together all the way. That's why I say it's not 75%.
I think also the put towards that was the city. I think the city is against our culture right now. Like we fighting our own city for us to play on the corners, play on Bourbon. I think it was a month ago they was actually trying to stop us from playing on the streets, and that's what actually like people found out about jazz from actually us playing on the streets. My uncles and them, cause they used to actually go to jail for to do this, and they had wound up opening up. So now I'm thinking they trying to get it back to what it used to be because they've been trying to give us tickets, run us, tell us we can't play at certain spots. So it's really just about the culture. Like we just trying to build the culture and bring it back to the city where the city, you know, they letting us perform for the people, and you know.
For people who haven't come here in a while, or have never been here, why should they come to New Orleans?
The biggest thing I say is for the experience. A lot of people don't get the experience. By me going to school in Houston and then going to school in Alabama, is a very different culture experience. So I'll say come get the culture and not look at the outside. You can watch some videos and get the feeling. You can watch some TikToks, some YouTube reels and get the feeling. But come to New Orleans and get your own experience. It's nothing like being in the city.
Tasting that gumbo, peeling that crawfish, dancing in front of the band, with other members, drinking 24 hours of the day. The city don't stop. We're gonna party all night.
All night, baby. We're gonna party.
People, you can't experience that nowhere else. Like, people's cities shut down at 9, 10 o'clock. Some at 12 at the latest, and some even at 2 at the latest. We party all the way to about 5 the next morning. Sometimes, depending on how you feeling.
And then I also say it's really about what you like to do. There's a lot of things that you can do out here. You don't have to follow nobody else and be like, oh, I have to go do this. Like for y'all just walked up. Some people be scared to come talk to the band members. Y'all walked up like, hey, we going to talk to the band, and that's the stuff that we like. That's why we out here to play on the corner, because we want people to see that we friendly. We can come talk to us, come have a good time. It's New Orleans. Let the good times roll. Why not?
Finally, Katrina, 20 years later, all that destruction. How's the city doing now?
That's a loaded question.
Okay.
We are population-wise not up to what we were before, and a lot of stuff that is important to us is no longer. So I talked a little bit about Ain't There No More, which is when we lost a lot of our businesses that made us who we are. They're part of our culture. A lot of the little small businesses that made you only would know if you grew up in New Orleans kind of thing. But I mean, the city is back functional. The landscape looks a little different, but it's never going to go back to how it was before. So yeah, I encourage people to come in and experience the city on their own. I think the best thing you can do is get out and talk to people of the city and meet locals. And then you get a really good understanding. Everybody has a Katrina story that was living here through it. But it was a really significant, crazy thing that happened in the United States that we hadn't really seen in modern history before. So I think we did a pretty good job of coming back from it. But, it's part of evolution and things changing.
But you still have the Garden District. You still have...
this didn't flood in Katrina.
Yeah.
It's got no water during Katrina.
Really?
So people think Katrina wiped out the whole city, but again, if you look, it's a man-made disaster because it was the canal, the industrial canal that ran through the middle of a neighborhood that man made and decided that he was going to run through the middle of a neighborhood. It's not the river. The river we've dealt with for hundreds of years, and we know how to manage the river. So the river is actually one of the safest places to be and live. But the neighborhoods that were built by the city through dredging bayous, and we decided to cover a large piece of land with very heavy concrete, and we're built on top of what is essentially a dish sponge. Isn't going to end well for a lot of people.
But people like you have not given up on New Orleans.
No, I mean, I came back. Why would you give up on the city just because there was a hardship? People are rebuilding California.
Right.
People, after Katrina, because it was kind of the first one of those in modern history of hey, people kept saying why would you go back there? Why would you come back? Why would you move back and build back? Well, now we're seeing every other city is getting some sort of crazy, disaster happening. Now people hopefully will understand why you don't just cut and run. You come back and you fight for the stuff this is all they ever owned. This is all their family ever had. Why would you just cut and run? The things you like are worth fighting for. There's not anywhere else like this. It's changed after Katrina. There's a lot more transplants here and people who moved here after Katrina who kind of have different ideas of the city. Some of it's good. Some of it they push for really positive change in the city and progressive ideas in the city of infrastructure and government. And some of it is bad because they complain about noise and bars, and they don't really understand. They kind of come from places where things are very American.
They want it to be like it was.
Wherever they're from, Sandusky, Ohio, or whatever quiet little town they're from, is not going to ever be New Orleans. And so it's kind of this constant, battle back and forth about you can't change our city. This is our city. But, maybe you can change it for the better. Maybe our politicians don't all have to embezzle money and go to jail.
Yeah.
maybe we should have streets that are functional, and maybe we should look into, you know, regulating the water drainage systems a little bit better. So it's a give take, but it is definitely different post Katrina. But I would never tell people not to come to New Orleans because of Katrina. It was almost 20 years ago. So we've done a lot of recovery since then, and the places that haven't recovered is because there's nobody living there in them.
I'm Jefferson Graham. You've been listening to the audio companion to the PhotoWalks TV episode of New Orleans. If you haven't checked it out, you can go to youtube.com/PhotoWalks TV. Remember that new episodes of PhotoWalks air every Sunday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time on Scripps News. And also, I'm one click away at PhotoWalksTV.com. Any questions, any concerns? I'd love to hear from you. Jefferson Graham, let the good times roll.